Today I'm sharing books that will help your elementary students form a personal connection with the time period that we call ancient. Now, these books do not disrespect those people's cultures. Rather, they present history as people who were very much like us, yet with a difference. Here are my favorite living books for grades 1 through 4 on ancient times. Welcome to the Simply Charlotte Mason podcast. I'm Sonia Schaefer. One of the criteria that I have when I'm selecting books about ancient times for this age level is that I don't want the focus to be on the false gods and the myths surrounding them. Yes, the false gods can be mentioned at times and presented as part of the lifestyle of these ancient cultures, just as false gods of various people groups are sometimes mentioned in Bible accounts. But those should not be the focus of the book. I want elementary students to get a firm grounding in Scripture and know the true God, rather than delving into details on false gods and then potentially lumping all of the stories together and getting confused about what's true and what is myth. So these books meet that criteria. They are not collections of ancient myths about false gods that those people worshipped. They are readable, interesting, living narratives of what life was like in ancient times. These books are meant for you to read aloud to your elementary students and enjoy with them. They're scheduled as part of the lessons in our new history curriculum, A Pageant of History, in the Ancient Times course. Those lessons also schedule readings from books that are designed for the whole family to enjoy together. I reviewed those books in a previous episode. Check the description for a link. Now, if you find that those family books are a bit much for your first or second grader, you can easily set them aside for now and read only the books that I'll be reviewing today. Don't worry about missing out. Since it's a 4-year history curriculum, your students will come back to ancient times again in middle school and in high school, and you can add in those family books then, along with different living books for them to read on their own. Okay, let's take a look at the books we recommend for elementary students studying ancient times. Pharaoh's Boat by David Weitzman. Most people are familiar with the Great Pyramids as the final resting place of the pharaohs, but not everyone knows about the magnificent boats that Cheops commissioned to be built and buried near his pyramid. This book tells that story, skillfully interweaving the narrative between the original shipbuilders and the modern-day archaeologist who discovered and uncovered them. If your students enjoy a book that elaborates on how and why something was built, they're going to love Pharaoh's Boat. Boy of the Pyramids by Ruth Fosdick Jones. Now, I have to confess, this is my absolute favorite book for elementary students studying ancient Egypt. It's a gentle mystery about a 10-year-old boy named Kafi, who has many adventures with his friend Sari, a slave girl. Together, they experience firsthand the harvest feast, the fight of the bulls, the flooding of the Nile, and the mystery of a pyramid's missing jewels. I appreciate how this historical fiction helps younger students get a good feel for life in ancient Egypt, but it doesn't depend on a fear factor or sensationalize the mummies and such. It mentions some of the gods that the Egyptians worshipped in one chapter when the family goes to the temple to present a harvest offering. But as I mentioned before, myths and gods are not the focus of the narrative. I also appreciate how Kafi grows as a person over the arc of the story. The book begins with him kicking his personal slave, but as the story unfolds, he begins to consider slaves that were all over ancient Egyptian culture more as fellow human beings. Your students are sure to enjoy this fabulous historical fiction and retain a vivid mental picture of life in ancient Egypt. The other 3 books are part of a series. All 3 are by the same author, and they do a wonderful job of portraying everyday life in ancient Greece and Rome. They read like a mixture of fiction and conversational explanation. Your students will get to know certain characters through the fictional stories and dialogue, but the author also breaks the fourth wall, as it were, and explains things about those ancient cultures to shed more light on why the characters are doing and saying certain things. These books have been around for many years, and for good reason. First, Our Little Spartan Cousin of Long Ago, and Our Little Athenian Cousin of Long Ago by Julia Darrow Cowles. Both of these will help your students understand the very different cultures that existed in Sparta and in Athens in ancient Greece. In Our Little Spartan Cousin of Long Ago, we follow several of the young boys as they leave home to live in company with 15 others and train to be soldiers. Foraging for their own food and gathering reeds for their bedding. They learn about patriotism and heroism, and they learn to practice keeping their minds always alert and ready. The stories and commentary present the ideas of what true nobility and rugged simplicity meant to the Spartans. Now, by contrast, Our Little Athenian Cousin of Long Ago follows two friends, Duris, the son of an architect, and Hero, the son of a sculptor. Your students will notice that these boys' lives in Athens are vastly different from those in Sparta. In this book, they will visit the marketplace, the Acropolis, the schools and art studios, and the festivals. These boys also encounter war, but from a different vantage point. And the Olympic Games are featured in both books, since they united all of the cultures of ancient Greece. The third book in the series is Our Little Roman Cousin of Long Ago, also by Julia Darrow Cowles. This storyline follows Marcus and his growth to manhood in the closing days of the Roman Republic. Your students will accompany Marcus as he learns his lessons in school and joins his father on a trip to the Senate, pays a visit to his father's farm, and watches a triumph of a victorious general. The crowning moment comes when Marcus puts on the toga, the mark of a Roman citizen. By reading these three books along with Boy of the Pyramids, your elementary students will discover some of the similarities and many of the differences between these distinct cultures of the ancient world. And if you add in the two family books, either now or when your students are older, they will hear about even more cultures from around the world during ancient times. Check the description for links. Next time, we'll cover books on ancient times for middle school students. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.